This video is about she took her kids to the city square and a billionaire smiled at her. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. Maya Harris had always envisioned her life as a series of vibrant brushstrokes across a canvas. Yet standing in the vast expanse of City Square, clutching her two children's small, warm hands, her masterpiece felt more like a muddled array of colors. The square pulsed with activity, a symphony of laughter, chatter, and the distant notes of a street musician's guitar. It was a typical Saturday, but for Maya, it felt anything but ordinary. "Can we get ice cream, Mommy?" Her 7-year-old son, Oliver, tugged at her sleeve, his eyes wide and imploring. His blonde curls bounced as he jumped with excitement. "Please," echoed his younger sister, Clara, her cherubic face lit up with an innocent grin. Maya looked down at them, her heart swelling with a mix of love and fatigue. The past few months had been a whirlwind of adjusting to life as a single mother and working part-time at a local bookstore. "All right, but only if you two promise to stick close," Maya replied, kneeling down to meet their eager faces. "You know how busy it gets here." "Promise," they chimed in unison, before racing toward a nearby ice cream stand. Maya chuckled, the corners of her mouth lifting despite the weight of her thoughts. As she watched them run ahead, a familiar twinge of longing gnawed at her. Memories of their father flashed through her mind, his laughter, the way he always insisted on getting the biggest ice cream cones even when they were too big for the kids to handle. A pang of loneliness accompanied the thought, a feeling she often tried to bury beneath her responsibilities. "Mommy, look at mine," Oliver shouted, brandishing a towering cone of mint chocolate chip, while Clara held up her pink strawberry delight. The joy on their faces was a bittersweet reminder of simpler times, before the divorce, before the shadows of doubt crept into her heart. Maya felt a soft presence beside her and turned to see a tall, striking figure standing at the edge of the ice cream stand. His dark hair was tousled just so, and he wore a fitted navy blazer, his confidence radiating even in a casual setting. "Beautiful kids you have there," he said, his voice warm and inviting. Maya's breath caught momentarily. "Thank you," she replied, a hint of warmth creeping into her cheeks. She was unused to such attention, particularly from someone who exuded effortless charm. He smiled and extended a hand. "I am Lucas. I come here often for the street performances, but I think I've found a new reason to visit." Maya raised an eyebrow, unsure of how to respond. "I am Maya." "Nice to meet you, Maya. Are you from around here?" He leaned against the stand, casually observing her children as they indulged in their icy treats. "Just moved back a few months ago. I grew up in this city, but it feels different now." "Different how?" He pressed his gaze steady. She hesitated, treading on a path she wasn't too sure she wanted to explore. "I guess I am just trying to find my footing again. You know, being a single mom comes with its own challenges." "I can only imagine," he said, his tone sincere. "I admire you for taking that leap." Maya felt a flutter in her stomach. His words were unexpectedly comforting. "Thank you," she said, her voice softer now. "It is not always easy to be brave." "Bravery comes in many forms," Lucas replied, his eyes twinkling with a mix of mischief and understanding. "Sometimes it is just getting out of bed and facing the day." A shared smile passed between them, and Maya could feel a spark of connection. But then the weight of reality tugged at her. She was a mother first, and her children were her priority. "Mommy, can we go to the fountain next?" Clara beamed, her face smeared with strawberry ice cream. "Of course." Maya nodded, her heart momentarily pulled back to her role as a parent. "Is it okay if I join you guys?" Lucas asked, his voice layered with genuine interest. Maya hesitated, caught off guard by the invitation. It felt both exciting and daunting. "Sure, if you'd like," she said, trying to keep her composure. As they made their way to the fountain, Oliver and Clara splashed water joyfully, their laughter ringing like music through the square. Maya watched them, her heart swelling with pride, but she couldn't help but feel a whisper of guilt for allowing herself to engage in this spontaneous moment with Lucas. "Do you come here often?" she asked him as they settled on a nearby bench, the sound of bubbling water creating a serene backdrop. "Not as much as I'd like," he admitted. "Work keeps me busy, but I try to carve out time for things that matter, people." Maya seized the opportunity to learn more about him. "What do you do?" "I am a CEO of a tech startup," he said, nonchalantly. "It sounds more impressive than it is. Really, most days, I am just trying to keep everything from falling apart." Her eyebrows raised in surprise. "A billionaire, that must come with its own set of challenges." Lucas chuckled softly, the sound warm and disarming. You'd be surprised. People think wealth solves everything, but it can feel isolating. Sometimes I envy the simplicity of a day like this. Myra's heart softened. You can be serious, she said, meeting his gaze. You have everything anyone would want. Not everything, he replied, the weight of his words hanging in the air. But let us not make this about me. I am much more interested in hearing about you. Mai smiled, surprised by his sincerity. She found herself opening up, sharing snippets of her past, the struggles of raising 2 children alone, and the little victories that made her feel accomplished. He listened intently, his expression reflecting genuine interest, and she felt a rush of warmth at the connection they were forging. Those kids are lucky to have you, Lucas said, his voice low and earnest. Just then, Oliver leapt up from the fountain, water splattering everywhere. Mom, look, I am a dolphin. Maya laughed, her heart lightening. More like a wet dog, she teased, shaking her head. Lucas grinned, and for a moment, Maya was struck by how effortlessly they fell into a rhythm, easy banter, playful exchanges, and undeniable chemistry that stirred something deep within her. But in the back of her mind, doubt began to creep in. Was she getting carried away? Should she really be flirting with the billionaire while her children played mere feet away? Surely, this was a fleeting moment in time, and she had responsibilities that anchored her. Mommy. Clara's voice broke through her thoughts as she ran over, her hair dripping and a smile plastered on her face. Can we get a balloon? Mai glanced at Lucas, who looked amused at the interruption. Of course, sweetie, let us find some balloons, she said, feeling the weight of her choices swell around her like the fountain ice water. As they walked toward a vendor, Lucas fell into step beside her. You know, he began, his tone light, I am not usually this bold, but I'd like to see you again, maybe outside a city square. Myra's heart raced at the suggestion. She started, feeling a rush of excitement intertwined with hesitation. Let us just say you were a breath of fresh air, Maya, he interrupted, sensing her uncertainty. No pressure, just food for thought. She nodded, the tension between them thickening. I'll think about it. As they reached the balloon vendor, Myra's heart fluttered with possibilities. But just as quickly, that flutter morphed into a whirlwind of doubts. Could she truly navigate dating again? Was she even ready to open her heart where it had been so carefully shielded? In that moment, Maya felt a shift within her. Perhaps there was a path ahead that didn't lead to heartache. Perhaps Lucas was the unexpected brushstroke in her life, one she didn't know she needed. But as her children clamored for their balloons, she pushed those thoughts aside for now, focusing on the laughter and joy radiating from them. She would take it one step at a time, cautious but open to the unfolding story that awaited her. The sun began its slow descent, casting a golden hue across City Square as Mai stepped away from the balloon vendor with her children. Clara clutched a bright pink balloon shaped like a heart, while Oliver held a blue one depicting their favorite superhero. Look, Mommy, I am going to fly away. Clara squealed, her laughter echoing like music, buoyed by the joy of a simple afternoon. Mai couldn't help but smile, but as she glanced over to Lucas, who had been waiting a few feet away, that smile faltered slightly. He had leaned against a nearby lamppost, his dark hair catching the golden light. There was something magnetic about him that both thrilled and unsettled her. You were really good with them, he remarked, his voice rich and warm as he stepped closer. Thanks, Mai replied, her heart fluttering at the compliment. They keep me on my toes. What are your plans for the rest of the day? He asked, his eyes sparkling with curiosity. Just heading home, I suppose, she said, feeling a rush of reluctance. A dinner, bath time, the usual. That sounds lovely, he replied, tilting his head slightly. But I can't help but think you deserve a break, a night out, maybe just a few hours to be yourself. Mai felt her cheeks heat, an unexpected surge of exhilaration clashing with the reality of her responsibilities. I don't know, it is not that simple. Why not? He pressed gently, his gaze unwavering. You deserve to have a little fun, Maya. You are too amazing to let the past hold you back. A flutter of guilt twisted in her stomach. I am a mother first, my kids need me. I get that, he said, his tone earnest. But being a great parent doesn't mean you have to sacrifice your own happiness. You can be both. Maya turned away, watching her children chase each other as the golden light began to fade into dusk. It is just I haven't thought about dating in a long time. I wouldn't even know where to start, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Lucas stepped closer, his presence warm and comforting. How about starting with a conversation over dinner? No expectations, just 2 people getting to know each other. Maya's heart raced. There was a thrill in the idea, but also a twinge of apprehension. What if I mess it up? She said, meeting his gaze with uncertainty. Then we laugh about it and move on, he replied, a charming grin breaking across his face. Life is too short to worry about perfection. Maya felt a spark of something akin to hope as she considered his words, but the harsh echo of her reality grounded her. What about your world? You be a billionaire, Lucas. I am just me. I like you just as you are, he said, his tone dropping a notch. There is something refreshing about your honesty. It is rare. Just then, Oliver ran over, his balloon bobbing joyfully in the breeze. Can we go home now, Mommy? I am hungry. Of course, Oliver, she said, glancing at Lucas apologetically. I guess we'll have to rain check that dinner. Rain check it is, he replied, a hint of disappointment flickering in his eyes. But I'll hold you to it. Maya nodded, her chest tightening as she watched him step back. Thank you for today, Lucas. I really enjoyed it. Me too, he said, his voice softening. Take care of yourself and those little ones. As they walked away, Maya felt the weight of his gaze linger on her, a mix of warmth and longing threading through her heart. But the chaotic demands of motherhood reigned supreme as Clara tugged at her hand, eager to leave the bustling square behind. The drive home felt longer than usual, her mind racing with thoughts of Lucas. What had started as a spontaneous outing had blossomed into something more of an encounter that stirred emotions she thought had long been dormant. Mama, can we have pizza for dinner? Clara chirped from the back seat, breaking the silence that had enveloped them. Sure, sweetheart, Maya replied with a smile, though her mind wandered back to the way Lucas had looked at her, the way he had made her feel seen and desired. After arriving home, Maya settled the kids in front of the TV with a slice of pizza each. She escaped to the kitchen, her sanctuary, where she poured herself a glass of water and stared out the window, lost in thought. What would it be like to let someone in again? What if Lucas was just another fleeting moment, the brushstroke that would fade away? Her phone buzzed on the counter, jolting her from her reverie. She picked it up to find a text from an unknown number. Hey, Maya, it's Lucas from the square. Just wanted to say I had a great time today. Let us definitely do that dinner soon. Her heart raced at the sight of his name. She typed a quick response, her fingers trembling, but hesitated before pressing send. What if he expected something more? What if he grew disinterested once he saw how chaotic her life truly was? Mommy? Clara's voice rang out, pulling her away from her thoughts. I need help. Oliver, want to share the remote? Coming. Maya shouted back, shoving her phone into her pocket, her heart still racing. After resolving the sibling squabble, she found herself tucked in bed beside Clara, reading a story as Oliver fell asleep on the other side. As the soft glow of the nightlight filled the room, Maya's thoughts drifted back to Lucas. What would it feel like to share this part of her life with someone again? To invite someone into her world, with all its messiness and love? As she turned off the light, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was a crossroads, a moment that could change everything. But still, a voice in her head whispered the familiar that's what if she opened her heart and it led to pain. Maya lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her mind a whirlwind of possibilities. She thought of how Lucas had looked at her, how he had listened, and how, for just a moment, it felt like the weight of her past had lifted. But could she really allow herself to embrace that connection? To take a leap of faith in a world that had taught her to be cautious? Outside, the city hummed quietly, a backdrop to the question swirling in her heart. She closed her eyes, trying to quiet her racing thoughts, but the image of Lucas' smile lingered, as vibrant and inviting as the colors of her dreams. She felt a gentle tug of excitement. Maybe she could allow herself to paint a new picture, one where hope and fear coexisted, where she could be both a mother and a woman seeking connection. Days passed, filled with the routine of school drop-offs and work. Yet the anticipation of Lucas' text hung in the air, a thread of possibility weaving itself into her life. Every ping of her phone sent her heart racing, half expecting a message that could turn her world upside down. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she decided to take the plunge. Seizing the moment, she texted him, letting the trepidation melt away with each letter she typed. Hey, Lucas, I'd love to grab that dinner with you. When are you free? Her heart pounded as she pressed send, a mix of exhilaration and dread flooding through her. Would he still want to meet her? Would he still feel the same chemistry? Minutes felt like hours until finally her phone buzzed again. How about Friday? I know a great little Italian place. They have the best tiramisu. A smile broke across her face, lighting up the shadows of doubt. Friday sounds perfect. As she tucked her phone away, Maya felt a shift within herself. A thread of hope was beginning to weave its way through her life, and for the first time in a long while, she felt the flicker of anticipation, a chance for something new. a chance to embrace the unexpected brushstrokes that could paint a beautiful future. The days leading up to Friday felt like an eternity for Maya Harris. Each morning began with the familiar chaos of breakfast routines and school drop-offs, but her thoughts frequently drifted to Lucas. The anticipation of their dinner hung over her like a delicate veil, both exhilarating and terrifying. On Thursday evening, as she prepared for the night ahead, she stood in her bedroom, staring at her closet with a mix of anxiety and excitement. The fabric of her life was woven from practicalities and responsibilities, and her heart raced at the thought of navigating the unknown waters of dating while being a mother. "Mommy, are you coming?" Clara's voice floated in from the living room, pulling Maya from her thoughts. "Yes, honey, just a second," she called back, forcing herself to focus. She held up two dresses, one a simple navy blue that clung softly to her frame, and the other a vivid green that was bold and vibrant like an uncharted territory beckoning to her. "Mommy, I like the green one." Clara's enthusiastic voice piped up. Maya glanced at her daughter's cherubic face peeking around the doll frame. "Really? You think it is not too much?" Maya asked, feeling a mix of self-doubt and yearning for her daughter's approval. "Nope, you'll look like a princess," Clara declared with a confidence that only a child could possess. Maya laughed at the sound, easing the tension in her chest. "All right, green it is," she said, slipping into the dress. It felt fresh and alive against her skin, reminding her that she was still vibrant beneath the layers of motherhood. As the clock approached 6, Maya bound Clara's hair into two neat pigtails, stealing glances at herself in the mirror. She barely recognized the woman staring back at her, someone who had fought through long nights, exhaustion, and heartbreak, only to emerge on the other side wearing hope like a new garment. "Mommy, you look pretty," Clara announced, her eyes wide and sincere. "Thank you, sweetheart," Maya replied, her heart swelling. Taking a moment, Maya knelt down to Clara's level. "Do you remember what we talked about? Mommy is going to have dinner with someone special tonight." Clara nodded enthusiastically. "The nice man from the square. I hope he brings you flowers." Maya chuckled, the sweet innocence of her daughter's words lighting up the room. "Maybe he will, but you know what? Just having a nice dinner is enough." With Oliver occupied in a late afternoon nap, Maya slipped out the door, heart fluttering with every step she took toward the car. She glanced at her phone, the message from Lucas still open. Asterisk, can't he wait to see her? Asterisk. The drive to the restaurant felt surreal, each red light granting a moment for her thoughts to race ahead. What would they talk about? What if their chemistry had just been a fleeting moment in the square? Arriving at the Italian restaurant, she took a moment to gather herself before stepping inside. The warm aroma of garlic and basil enveloped her, instantly wrapping her in a comforting embrace. It was a small, intimate place with dim lighting and soft music playing in the background. "Table for one?" the hostess asked, eyeing Maya. "No, I am meeting someone," she replied, her pulse quickening. "Perfect, right this way." As they approached a cozy corner table, Maya scanned the restaurant, a heart leaping when her eyes found Lucas seated, a glass of red wine in hand, a welcoming smile playing on his lips. "Hey, you made it," he said, standing to greet her. The way he looked at her, in appreciation in his gaze, sent a thrill coursing through her. "Of course," Maya replied, feeling a shy smile tugging at her lips. "Thanks for inviting me." "Only the best for the best," he replied smoothly, pulling out her chair. "You look incredible, by the way." "Thank you," she said, feeling the blush creep up her cheeks. "You clean up nicely yourself." As they settled in, a gentle hum of conversation surrounded them, punctuated by laughter from other tables. They pored over the menu, and Lucas encouraged her to try the lasagna, claiming it was life-changing. "I've got to admit," Maya said, her voice slow as she leaned in closer, "that is a bold statement, but I am intrigued." "It is all about the bold statements, right?" He chuckled, and for a moment, the world outside faded away. As the waiter arrived, they placed their orders. Excitement buzzed between them, a current of energy that felt charged anew. "So, tell me about your kids," Lucas prompted, his tone genuinely curious. Maya's heart warmed at the chance to share. "Oliver is 7, he is adventurous and always testing the limits. Clara is 4, she is a little artisan full of imagination. They keep me on my toes every day." "Sounds like you are quite the busy mom," Lucas said, admiration written all over his face. "I try," Maya replied, a hint of pride creeping into her voice. "It is not easy, but they make it worthwhile." "That is what matters," he said, his voice sincere. "I love that you are so passionate about them." For the next hour, conversation flowed effortlessly. They discovered mutual interests, books, movies, and trips to the beach. As they laughed over shared stories, Mai felt the familiar warmth in her chest grow, the connection deepening with each shared moment. Yet a flicker of uncertainty danced in the back of her mind. Could someone like Lucas truly understand the complexities of her life? The weight of being a single mother, the sacrifices she made, the doubts that loomed large. "Tell me about your job," Mai said, trying to shift the focus back to him. "What is it like to be a CEO?" Lucas took a sip of his wine, his expression thoughtful. "It is challenging, to say the least. I love creating something from the ground up, but it can be isolating. The higher you climb, the fewer people you can trust." Mai nodded, sensing a layer of vulnerability beneath his confident exterior. "I can imagine. It must be hard to find genuine connections." "Exactly," he said, his eyes locking onto hers. "But meeting you today felt like a breath of fresh air. I haven't had a connection like this in a long time." Her heart raced at his admission, the air thick with unspoken tension. "I feel the same way," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "And that is why I want to make sure we get to know each other better," he said, leaning closer. "Life is too short to hold back, don't you think?" Myra's pulse quickened at the intensity of his gaze. "You were right," she replied, feeling a mixture of excitement and fear. "But it does feel a little daunting. I am not sure what I can offer." "I am not looking for perfection, Maya," Lucas said, his voice low and steady. "I am looking for authenticity. Just be yourself." She took a deep breath, the warmth of his words melting away some of her apprehension. Yet, just as she began to relax, her phone buzzed in her pocket. Pulling it out, her heart sank as she saw Oliver Escol calling. "I am so sorry," she said, her voice laced with concern. "I have to take this." Lucas nodded, his expression shifting to one of understanding. "Of course, family first." Mai stepped outside the restaurant, the cool air hitting her face sharply. "Hello?" she answered, her heart racing. "Ms. Harris, this is the school. Oliver is feeling unwell and needs to be picked up." "Is it serious?" she asked, tension flooding her body. "No, just a bit of a fever. We recommend you come as soon as possible." Myra's heart sank. "I'll be right there." Hanging up, she felt a wave of frustration bubble up. "I am so sorry," she said upon returning to Lucas, her voice shaky as she tried to mask her disappointment. "I have to go. Oliver is sick at school." Lucas's face registered concern, but he quickly masked it. "Do you need me to drive you?" "No, I can manage. I hate to leave so soon." "It is all right," he said, his tone soothing. "Family comes first, I understand." Mai felt a pang of guilt as she stood, wishing for just a few more moments to bask in their connection. "Thank you for understanding," she said, her voice thick with regret. "I really enjoyed tonight." "I did too," he said, his expression softening. "Let us pick this up again soon, okay?" "Definitely," she assured, her heart aching at the fleeting nature of their evening. As she walked out of the restaurant, the cool breeze brushed against her skin, leaving a trail of uncertainty in its wake. She felt the weight of unfinished business, of a connection that had just begun to blossom but was cut short by the demands of her life as a mother. At the school, as she rushed inside, she pushed the lingering thoughts of Lucas aside, her focus shifting entirely to Oliver. When she found him sitting in the nurse, Maya pushed through the heavy doors of the school, her heart pounding with concern for Oliver. She felt a rush of anxiety as she navigated the familiar hallways, the bright-colored lockers and scattered artwork reminding her of ordinary school days before the weight of being a single mother settled over her. The nurse's office was just down the corridor, and as she approached, she could hear the faint sound of Oliver's voice, a mix of whines and frustrated impatience. Pushing the door open, she saw him sitting on the cot, his cheeks flushed and his curls sticking to his forehead with sweat. He looked up at her, eyes wide with a mixture of relief and yearning. "Mom," he exclaimed, his voice cracking. "I don't feel good." Maya rushed to his side, kneeling beside him. "Oh, sweetheart, I am here," she said, brushing the hair away from his forehead. "What hurts?" "Just my tummy," he mumbled, curling up into a ball, looking smaller than his 7 years. The nurse walked over, her demeanor calm and reassuring. "He has a slight fever, but it is nothing serious. I recommend keeping him home for the evening." Maya nodded, relief flooding her system. "Thank you, I appreciate it," she said, turning her attention back to Oliver. "Let us get you home, buddy." As they walked out of the school, Oliver leaned against her side, his little body exhausted but feeling safe under her care. The warmth of the moment wrapped around her, but a flicker of sadness tugged at her heart. Just hours ago, she had been on the brink of something new and exciting with Lucas, a world of possibility open before her. "Can we watch a movie when we get home?" Oliver asked, his voice muffled against her side. Of course, we'll get your favorite snacks too, she promised, kissing the top of his head. As they climbed into the car, Myra's phone buzzed again, and she couldn't help but glance at the screen. A message from Lucas flashed, asterisk, hope Oliver feels better soon. Let me know if you need anything. Asterisk. Reading his words, Maya felt the reminder of their evening together, a connection that had the potential to blossom into something beautiful. But the reality of motherhood pulled her back into focus. She was responsible for her children above all else, and it was a weight she cherished but sometimes felt suffocating. Once home, Maya settled Oliver on the couch, covering him in a cozy blanket. Clara bounded in, her energy undeterred by the chaos of the day. Is Oliver okay? Clara asked, her brows knitting in concern. He just has a little fever, but he'll be fine, Maya reassured, brushing her fingers through Clara's hair. Why don't you go get some juice for him? Clara nodded, fluttering off to the kitchen. Maya took a seat beside Oliver, who was now watching a cartoon with droopy eyes. You'll be back to your superhero self in no time, she whispered, placing a gentle hand on his forehead. Promise, he murmured, his voice thick with sleep. I promise, you just need some rest, she said, feeling her heart ache with love for her children. As the evening progressed, Maya found herself navigating between caring for Oliver and Clara, who was full of questions and boundless energy. She set up a simple picnic on the floor, where the three of them sprawled out, enjoying their pizza and juice. Mommy, can I have a balloon like I did in the square? Clara asked, her eyes sparkling with hope. Of course, we can get some tomorrow, Maya agreed, her heart swelling at Clara's joy. But for now, let us focus on getting Oliver all better. As the movie played, Maya's thoughts drifted back to Lucas. She felt a strange mix of longing and guilt. He seemed like a good man, someone who genuinely cared, because she opened herself up to him after everything. The memory of his warm smile and gentle words clung to her, igniting a flicker of hope she hadn't expected to feel. Later that night, after the kids were tucked in bed, Maya found a moment of quiet in the kitchen. The house was still, and the soft hum of the refrigerator filled the silence. She poured herself a glass of water and leaned against the counter, her mind racing. I can't let this opportunity with Lucas slip away. Her phone buzzed again, breaking the stillness. This time, it was a call from Lucas. Taking a deep breath, she answered, her heart thumping in her chest. Hey, Lucas. Maya, how is Oliver? His voice was rich and smooth, laced with genuine concern. He is resting now, just a little fever but nothing serious, she replied, feeling warmth spread through her at his thoughtfulness. I was worried when I saw your message earlier. Is there anything I can do to help? The sincerity in his voice made her heart skip. No, it is just a routine sick day, she said, forcing a lightness she didn't entirely feel. But thank you for checking in. Good, I'd hate to think of you juggling everything alone. That is an impressive feat, he said, his tone light but firm. Motherhood can be a bit of a circus, she admitted, chuckling softly. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. It shows how strong you are, he replied, and she could hear the sincerity in his voice again. Maya bit her lip, feeling a rush of warmth. I am just doing what I have to do. Still, you deserve to be taken care of too. You do so much for them. Maya, he said, his voice dipping slightly. What about you? When do you get a break? She hesitated, feeling exposed. I manage. It is just part of the package. Maya, you shouldn't have to manage alone, he said, his voice steady. You're amazing, but even amazing people need help. His words hung in the air, and Maya felt a mix of gratitude and uncertainty. I appreciate that, Lucas, I really do, but it's complicated. Life is complicated. It doesn't mean you shouldn't reach out, he replied, his tone softening. What if we plan another dinner for when things settle, just you and me? Absolutely, she said, feeling butterflies stir in her stomach at the thought of seeing him again. I'd like that. Great, I'll think of another place that is just as cozy, he replied, a hint of mischief in his voice. And maybe I'll even bring those flowers Clara hoped for. Maya laughed, picturing Clara's beaming face at the idea. She would love that, she said, her heart warming at the thought. I'll hold you to it. Just remember, I am here if you need anything in between. I mean it, he said, sincerity wrapping around each word. Thank you, Lucas. That means a lot, she replied, her voice steady but her heart racing. After a few more minutes of easy conversation, they wrapped up the call, and Maya leaned against the counter, feeling lighter than she had in days. The connection they shared was a flicker in her chaotic life, something to hold onto in the midst of her responsibilities. As she prepared for bed, her heart fluttered with the prospect of seeing Lucas again. But as she lay in the dark, the silence enveloping her, doubts crept in. Was she ready to welcome someone into her life? What if it didn't work out? The questions swirled in her mind, but beneath them was a current of excitement and invitation to step outside her comfort zone. Perhaps it was time to embrace the chaos, to allow herself to live a little more fully. With a deep breath, she closed her eyes, surrendering to the uncertainty of the future. She could feel the threads of hope weaving their way through her heart. It was a risk, yes, but one that just might lead to something beautiful. And as she drifted off to sleep, she dreamed not only of her children but of the adventures waiting to unfold with someone who saw her not just as a mother but as a woman, vibrant and full of life.